Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I've got a brand new stamp set to show you from the Art Impressions Spring 2022 line. So here's a closer look at these little images. These are just so cute. And this is called the Happy Spring Set. And it comes with the coordinating dies as well. And you get these cute little sprigs, you get a little flower, and you get a couple of cute sentiments as well. So let's go ahead and do our coloring. I'm starting off with the light pink. I'll be listing all the colors I'm using today in that upper left-hand corner as we go along. And I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, which are a water-based marker to do my coloring. And I'm using the Zig Blender pen to blend everything out. I did my stamping on the Strathmore Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And for ink, I use a VersaFine Onyx black ink. So now for the little bunny, I'm using beige and mid brown. So I'm going to go ahead and add both colors at the same time, and then I'll blend those out. Now you could certainly just add your lightest color first and do your blending, and then come in with your shadows. But here I just found it just as easy just to apply both colors, and then I can come in with a little bit more shadowing later on if I need to. So I am using that blender pen to do my blending, but you could certainly use a water brush here as well. I just find the blender pen gets into these tiny little areas a little bit better. You do want to make sure you clean that off between colors so that you don't transfer any of that color to another image. So just, you can see me there, I'm just scribbling off any excess onto my scrap paper, and then I'm going to continue doing my blending here. I am going to blend a little bit of that beige color into that pink just to soften it just a little bit. Now as we go along, I'll be listing all the products that I'm using today. They're all listed and linked down below, and they're also listed and linked on my blog as well. And I also want to say, although this is the most adorable little Easter set, these little critters can be used for other things. This little bunny here can be holding some balloons. The little chick off to the side, if you cut that egg out, you could put a little heart there. You could be carrying a little heart shape, or just about anything that you want. So kind of keep in mind that these images would be great for other seasons as well. And there's also all those little sprigs that can be used in some of your little floral arrangements. There's the teeny tiny little flowers there. So kind of keep in mind that, these images, I feel like I like to use my images all throughout the year. So it's kind of fun to see what you can do with them and mix and match them with some of the sets that you already have. So here I'm going to color in this little chick using bright yellow and pale yellow. So again, I'll start with that lighter color, adding that darker shade, and then just blending those two together. Now for this card, I did decide to use all of these little critter images. And I did stamp and color in a second one of the little chicks as well. Now I'm going to switch over to the orange just to do the beak and to do the little feet there. And now I'll use orange and bright yellow to color in the little carrot car, which is just so cute. I just think this is adorable. So I'm going to go ahead and color this in, and you can see that I colored in the other little bunnies off camera. I used the same two colors that we used above, but I added a little bit more of the dark brown here and there on one of them and a little less on another one, just to change the shading just slightly so that they look a little bit different. So this little carrot, I'm keeping the shadows down towards the bottom of the carrot car, and then I'm just pulling everything up towards the top. Again, I applied both of my colors here, and I'm coming back in with a little bit more shadowing with that orange color. And you can do this as many times as you want. Just keep adding a few more shadows. And there you can see I got a little bit of that color on the wheel. So I'm just using my blender pen to go and pick up that ink. So I'm just grabbing the ink and then scribbling it onto my scrap paper. So now I've got the light green and green, I'm going to do the little greenery at the back of the carrot here. And I'll also be using that for the stems on the tulips as well. I'll go back to the orange and the bright yellow to finish off this little carrot. I was going to do it in a different color, but I decided to keep it the same. So for the tires or the little wheels, I'm going to use the brick beige. And I'm just placing it on two sides of the wheel, and then I'll just kind of pull that around. And here I added quite a few layers to get that shadowing that I needed. So I kept adding a little bit more of that brick beige on either side and continued to pull that out. So now I've gone to the peach pink for the little cart here. And again, I'm going to keep the shadows down towards the bottom. Now we'll be creating a really pretty background for this. We're going to do a couple different things. And one of them is to use a shifter stencil. And I'll show you how to use those. And also we're going to be doing some spattering in the background as well. So as I was coloring all these in, I did decide I wanted to use all of these images. Oh, and here I'm switching to the turquoise green. I did decide to use all of these little cute little images, but then as I was coloring them in, I thought, oh, what am I going to do with all of these? I'll need a really large card, and originally I was thinking maybe a Slimline card. And then I thought, if I created two layers to my card, that I could just have it look like it continues down the card, the little parade of critters. And I did stamp and color in a second one of those little chicks off camera, and you'll see that here a little bit later. For this little egg car, I'm just using a combination of colors. I've got some pinks and blues and some violet tones as well. And all of the colors I'm using today will be listed down below. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to that dark brown just to add a little center to each of these little wheels here. And now you can see we have everything all colored in. And now you can see really how cute these are. Just adorable. So I'm going to take my Jelly Roll gel pen and add some white highlights. I'll be adding 3 little white dots to each of the cheeks. So I went ahead and did the rest of those off camera, but I'll show you those up close a little bit later on. Again, this set does come with the coordinating dies, so I'm going to go ahead and line those up. I'm just going to take a little time here to make sure I line those up really well. I'm taping them down with some purple tape, and then I'll run those through my Spellbinders Platinum 6 die cutting machine. Now to create our card, I've got a piece of cardstock that measures 7 inches by 10 inches, and I'm scoring it at the 5-inch mark. That's going to give us a 5 by 7 inch card, so it's going to be a little bit larger than your standard size card. But we do have a lot of little critters to fit on here, so I wanted to go with this larger size. Now I'm going to grab from the Slimline die set from Art Impressions this die here, and we're going to be die cutting 2 of those, again out of that same Bristol Smooth cardstock. And I also use that for the card base as well. So I'm die cutting 2 of these, and then to create our background, we're going to be using the Tim Holtz Shifter Raise Layering Stencil. This creates a beautiful sunburst. And what's really fun with this one is we're going to shift it to fill in this entire panel. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So I'm just taping that down to my Wendy Vecchi Make Art station just to hold that in place a little bit better because it is such a small panel. Then I'm going to put my magnets in place. And for ink, I'm using the Abandoned Coral, Kitsch Flamingo, and Squeezed Lemonade. These are the Distress Oxide inks from Tim Holtz. And to do my blending, I'm going to be using my Hero Arts blending brush. So let's start off with that Abandoned Coral, and we're going to start down towards the bottom here. And I'll add a nice coating of this, a nice even coating of this. But I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I want that sunburst to fade out as it goes towards the edges of the card. So we're going to start off with the abandoned coral. Then we're moving on to the Kitsch Flamingo. And I'll overlap that over that abandoned coral just a little bit here. So I'm just kind of bringing that out a little bit further now. And then we'll be doing that, going back to that abandoned coral just really quickly, just to blend those two colors together a bit more. And I wanted that abandoned coral just to be a little bit darker. And then for the final step, we're going to grab that squeezed lemonade and we'll blend that right into that Kitsch Flamingo. And you can see there, I'm blending those colors right into each other there. That's going to give us a really pretty color combination. So now we're not done. What's really fun here is we're going to shift this. And you can see those little score marks on there. So we're going to place those little score marks over the top of what we've already stenciled. So I'm just going to figure out here my best positioning. And then you'll see what I'm going to do now is slide those little score marks right over the top of what we've already stenciled, and it will line up perfectly. And it's hard to see here, but those lines are visible when you're up close with the stencil. You can see them. So it's really easy to line those up. So now that I have those lined up, I'm going to do the same process all over again. Again, starting with the abandoned coral. And then the Kitsch Flamingo. And then finally that squeezed lemonade. And so what you'll see here is we're going to have little tiny strips of white where the layering stencil, there's like little gaps between the stencil, and it really gives a beautiful look. And you can see that here. Isn't this just gorgeous? But that one little area I was not able to fill in because this panel was a little bit longer. So I'm just going to lay one of these rays right over the top of that. Just make sure it's lined up really well, and then I'll just finish that little section there. So no worries there, you can easily fill that right in. So now we have that panel completed. Now we want to do that second panel because again, we're going to create kind of a layered look on our card. We're going to have two layers of these little critters marching along. So here I've just got my distress sprayer, and it just has some water in it, and I'm going to go ahead and clean off my stencil. And then I'm going back to that distress sprayer. I'm going to take the cap off of that. I just want to spatter a little bit of water over the top of these two panels, and that's going to give us just a really pretty little spattered effect. And you can see that up close. And that just adds a little bit more interest here. Now with my white gesso, I've got a piece of craft cardstock here. And this measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. So it's going to be slightly smaller than our card base. I'm going to go ahead and use a small paintbrush. I've added a little bit of water to that gesso, and I'm going to spatter this entire panel. And again, we're just looking to add a little bit more interest. Now I've got my We Are Memory Keepers envelope punch board, which the back side of it is a corner rounder. When you create your envelopes, you can round all those edges. So I'm just going to use that quickly here to round the 4 corners. Now you may have a different corner rounder. Any one you have would be fine. But I just use this one because it happened to be right next to my craft table. I've used some Nuvo Deluxe adhesive on the back of this, and I'm going to go ahead and center that on my card panel. Now I've got these two little backgrounds, and we're going to place these right on the front of our card. Again, I'm going back to that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive, and I want this to be about 1/2 inch up from the bottom of the card. So I'm going to use my T ruler here just to make sure it's nice and straight and make sure that it's up about 1/2 inch. Now once that's all set, I'll flip this around and I'm going to do the same exact thing with this one here. So I'll apply some glue. Now I have flipped it around and I'm coming up 1/2 inch, so this will be the top of the card here. But I do want to make sure those two sunbursts are going in the same direction. So I'm pressing that into place. And now I can go ahead and grab all my little critters here, and you can see now we have the two little chicks. One is holding a pink egg and one is holding the blue egg. And they're going to be in our little Easter parade. So I've got some Scotch foam mounting tape and I'll apply plenty of that to the back of each of these little images. Now I'm just going to position things in place. And that front little bunny there, I want him to be holding a little sign. Again, kind of looking like a little bit of an Easter parade. So I thought that looked pretty good for the layout, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the backing from the Scotch foam mounting tape, and I'll just start attaching these to my card. Now once that was all set, again, I wanted to add a few little embellishments here. So I've got this cute little sequin mix. This is from Picket Studios. And again, I'll link and list that down below for you. And it has these little candies in it. And it also has those little candles. It's a little birthday set. And it has the pretty sequins in it as well. So I grabbed all these little candies. And I'm going to just sprinkle these all around this card. And I'm just kind of figuring out where I want these to be. I want them to be fairly random here. I'm just going to grab a few more of those. And then once I like where I have all of these, I'm going to be using my Marvy jewel picker and my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to attach these to my card. And I went ahead and attached all of those off camera. Now let's use the rounded rectangle double stitch dies, and I'm using that second smallest one here. So you can see that I've already stamped and used this die to die cut the sentiment, but now I want it to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to use this same die. I'm sliding it over a little bit. You can see that I did stamp the sentiment off to the right hand side there. I'm going to slide this die over and just cut this a little bit smaller. So I'm lining it up with what I've already die cut. It'll kind of lock into place there. So then you can go ahead and run that through your Sizzix Sidekick machine. And then you'll see that now we've just made that banner just a little bit smaller here. And it still has that pretty stitch border all the way around. So I'm going to add a little bit of the Scotch mounting tape up towards the top. And then a little bit of glue on the bunny's paw, and I'll place this on my card. So let's take a closer look at our finished card. We've got these cute little bunnies, and again, this is part of the brand new Spring 2022 collection, so I hope you check that out. And if you enjoyed today's video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.